We are here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Wednesday, May 21st here in Seoul. I'm Song Jin, and you're tuning into News Generation. Joining us today is Nayeol Song.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, and Grace Park.
Great to be here.
Happy Wednesday. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. We're going to begin our show with our keyword news. Our keyword for this Wednesday is overseas voting. Now, overseas voting for South Korea's snap presidential election began on Tuesday and will run through Sunday across 223 polling stations in 118 countries. What's notable is that 4 countries, Cuba, Luxembourg, Lithuania, and Estonia, are hosting polling stations for the first time following the recent opening of Korean embassies there. And on Tuesday, 18-year-old Kim Hyun-seo, a Korean student living in Auckland, New Zealand, became the first overseas voter in this presidential election. Kim reportedly lined up 7 hours early to cast her very first vote. So Grace, I want to ask you, why do you think it's important to cast your vote even from afar?
Yeah, I'm actually not a Korean citizen, so I can't vote for the upcoming presidential elections in June. And I have yet to cast my ballot as an absentee voter for my country for any U.S. presidential elections while living abroad. But I am aware that it's important even for expats to be active voters for their respective countries because, first of all, it's a responsibility as a citizen to do so, especially in countries like Korea and the US where we have the privilege of choosing our leaders. Also, overseas votes are critical in places where the votes are pretty much divided in half because they can make the determining difference in the outcomes. And other reasons are that if you ever do decide to go back and live in your country, or if family members are still living there, policies and dialogue regarding education, immigration, taxes, all of those things are important to be part of.
Right, definitely. Then I think that the big question is, Nayeol, how does overseas voting work? Could you please explain this to our viewers who might be watching from overseas?
Right, so voting period actually started May 20th and it's going to go all the way till May 25th, KST until noon on the 26th in 223 polling stations across 118 countries, as Eugene mentioned. The polling locations, there's 182 Korean embassies and consulates, plus 41 additional polling sites in locations with over 30,000 overseas Koreans. And there's actually military polling stations set up in Lebanon at the Dongmyeong unit and also in Uganda, Hanbit unit. And what voters need to bring are the IDs, valid photo ID, such as passport or Korean resident registration card. If not registered in Korea, you need to bring the proof of nationality, for example, a visa or a permanent residency certificate.
All right, once again, for overseas voting, the deadline is May 25th this Sunday. And that was our keyword news for this Wednesday. We're now going to move on to our main discussion of the day. Wednesday is when we focus on the latest lifestyle trends of young people. Take a look at the screen for more on today's topic. May 21st is Couples Day here in Korea. Celebrated every year since 2007, this day was created to remind us of the importance of the marital bond and the value of building a harmonious family. The date itself has meaning, falling in the month of family, May, and symbolizing 2 people becoming one. Today on News Gen, we're going to take a closer look at how millennials and Gen Z view marriage. So we're going to start our show today with some numbers. So Nayeol, how many young adults in Korea are actually tying the knot these days? And are there any common traits that we can see among young married couples here in Korea?
Right, so unlike the older generations for whom marriage was actually considered something of a natural life step and having kids, many members of the MZ generation, or millennials and Gen Z, now see them as personal choices. As a result, more people are choosing not to marry, staying single. According to statistics of Korea, the number of marriages last year was about 220,000, a 15% increase from the previous year. And notably, marriages among men and women in their early 30s saw the biggest increase, as you can see, marking the rise of many millennials and Gen Z couples. analysts say that many of these couples were who postponed marriage during the pandemic. The average age of the first-time marriage slightly changed. For men, 33.9 years old, this is 0.1 years lower than the previous year, and women, 31.6 years old, 0.1 years higher than the previous year.
And besides what Niall just mentioned, Grace, what are some other traits that you'd like to introduce when it comes to married couples in Korea, especially those in their 20s and 30s?
Yeah, traditionally, single income households where the husband was the breadwinner of the family while the wife was mainly responsible for the homemaking made up the majority of all household models in the past. But now, with the changing trends across society, culture, economy, as well as higher levels of education and economic activity among women, the number of dual income households where both men and women in the family are active players in the labor force is increasing. In 2023, dual income households took up 48% of all households, which marked the highest figure yet. And we've been seeing more and more people saying that making money and childcare are shared responsibilities of married couples, as well as the equal sharing of wedding costs, housing, and everything else that comes with marriage.
All right, so based on what you guys mentioned, the average age of first-time marriage in Korea is between early 30s to mid-30s for females and males, and also we're seeing an increase in dual income households for couples who tie the knot. And we're also seeing some changing attitudes toward divorce as well, which we discussed several times on NewsGen. So Niall, would you say that young people in Korea see divorce differently compared to the older generations?
Yeah, absolutely. In the past, divorce was seen as almost a failure, and people often stayed in unhappy marriages due to financial or childcare responsibilities. But for this new generation, which values individual happiness, divorce is seen as a choice made in pursuit of personal well-being. So there have been many cases where people chose to divorce easily if they felt even the slightest sense of inequality. However, according to the last year's statistics, divorces within the first 5 years of marriage accounted for 17% of all divorces. This is actually a sharp drop of 8% from the previous year. This suggests that although young people are marrying less or later, they're more cautious in choosing a partner and are making more effort to resolve conflicts wisely within their marriages, being more responsible maybe.
That's something good to hear and see. And Grace, when talking about changing perceptions toward divorce among young people, another example that could really show this is the rise in, should I say, marriage or divorce-related entertainment or reality shows, right?
Yeah. What's interesting is that we're seeing more and more married couples who are facing a variety of issues in their own marriages turn to their TVs and watching these programs like you mentioned. These types of shows portray the couples confronting their problems and finding ways to resolve them, which can actually make the viewers feel like they're not alone. And it also offers practical solutions for their own issues in their relationships. In fact, many couples who watch these programs have said that the situations that they see on TV offer this like reality check, making their problems seem much smaller in comparison, which ultimately gives them a sense of relief. And honestly, I don't know if this is the most healthy way of resolving conflict, but it's kind of like saying, okay, at least my spouse is better than what you see on TV, you know?
Right, and the reason why we're seeing more of these programs popping up is because, as we all know, marriage isn't always smooth sailing because you're actually sharing a life with someone who's had a completely different life experience before meeting you for decades, which can, of course, naturally lead to conflict. So, Niall, what are some of the most common sources of disagreements among couples in their 20s and 30s, would you say?
I mean, it could really be anything, but let's take a look at the screen for this survey of married men and women in their 20s and 30s nationwide. Showed that 78% had experienced marital arguments. I don't know how the rest are doing, but 78%. Number one cause was differences in daily routines, followed by conflicts with family or in-laws at number 2, and division of household chores at number 3. That's a big one. And problems regarding children came at number 4, and interestingly, money issues, which many people assume is the biggest problem, came only at number 5. But you know what? You can have all of those problems too.
Right, certainly. So the survey that Niall just showed us, differences in lifestyle habits topped the list when it came to marital conflicts, followed by family matters and division of household chores. Now, we brought you two to the studio today because you are both married.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you this question. Can you personally relate to these findings of the survey? What would you say?
You know, those who are married will say that marriage is about compromise and working together, building a life together. And with all of those categories that I just mentioned, I don't know anyone who doesn't have struggles or problems with those categories, whether it be daily routines, conflicts with family, children, whether you have them or not, or you want to have them or not, money issues. For me, I think that's why it's so important to find someone who's really flexible and willing to work together. That's the key, together, and always willing to improve.
Right.
And communication of all the differences is also so critical. And personally, my husband and I have been working together to have more efficient and loving conversations during these conflicts. It's definitely not perfect by all means because we're both pretty hot-headed, but both of us have matured so much in the past 5 years, and I think that's the great thing about marriage, and also the terrible thing because it's continuing to challenge you every single day. It holds up a mirror against your maturity and keeps making you want to be better. It's tiring sometimes.
It is, but I think that at the same time, it kind of makes you become a better person.
It does. It takes a lot of hard work, but I think it's definitely worth it.
Now, let's hear from Grace. What do you think?
Yeah, I can especially relate to the first reason since marriage is basically when you put two strangers who've grown up in completely different households together in adulthood, and then they have to all of a sudden like start living together. So it is a big change. Personally, most of the arguments that I've had with my husband are related to differences in communication styles. Like, you know, for example, one person needs to process their thoughts while one person just wants to talk about things right away. I'm actually the latter.
Oh.
So yeah, you know, I've been learning more and more that communication is important, like Nyla mentioned, if not the most important part in a relationship, because it's inevitable that you're going to face problems in a marriage. And you know, it's really truly a grueling, humbling process of growth and maturity, but it's also rewarding and empowering because you're working to build a happy life, a happy future together.
Yeah, I think that conflicts are unavoidable, but the important part is how you're trying to resolve the conflict.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so far we focused on the situation here in Korea to see how married life is viewed in other parts of the world. After the break, we'll speak to a young married person from Hong Kong. We'll be right back.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang.News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
Welcome back. Today we're joined by Hong Kong millennial Po-Him Tam. Welcome back to the show, Po-Him.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So, Po-Him, would you say that the marriage rate among your generation is high in Hong Kong?
Actually, I think it's about the same as in Korea. A lot of my Hong Kong friends and even my family, like my cousins in their 30s, a lot of them are not married actually.
Oh, so as a married person, would you say what are some biggest pros and cons of being in a committed relationship?
So actually, I think there are a lot more cons than, a lot more pros than cons. And some of the pros that I can think of is, for example, the companionship, the emotional support, the physical presence of having someone in the house with you, but also the economic stability and the house chores. Like, I think that dividing the chores at home makes life a lot more enjoyable and more free time for both. And for the cons, I think I totally agree with what you said before. And to add some perspective of the cons for being in a relationship is you need to be considerate of the other person. Like, they might have different preferences, different choices. So you have to kind of adjust your own desires to that person. And if you need your own time and space, that can also be one of the issues that you might have in a relationship.
All right, so in your viewpoint, what is the secret to a happy marriage?
I think every couple will have their own secret sauce, but for my couple, and I've been married for 7 years now, I think for my couple, it was to be able to let go of our ego. Because once you drop that ego, it's so much easier to say sorry, even if you're not wrong. And that's kind of a superpower that can change the game. And the goal of the relationship is not to win the argument anymore, but to be kind to each other. And I think that's what makes my couple actually happy.
Such an important advice. All right, Poem, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts today. Always appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Have a
Thank
good day.
you. You too. So, time to hear from our viewers. We also asked our viewers, what's the key to a happy marriage? And here are 3 responses. Our first comment for this Wednesday is by Solina Choi, remembering the vow of marriage you took. Each day when you open your eyes, make a promise to love this person again. Oh, marriage doesn't end with the ceremony. It is every moment you spend together. Benny D97 says, keep yourself open to communication and be honest with your partner. I'm not married yet, but this is how I believe a strong relationship can grow. Pak Emmanuel 85, I believe that communication is key for both marriage and relationships. Oh, such lovely comments from our viewers. So ending off our episode today, we all dream of finding lasting love and building a life together with someone special. But making that dream a reality takes effort, communication, and growth. So ending off, what advice would you give to nurture a happy long-term relationship?
I would say find the right person.
Oh, that's the most important part.
Important thing. I mean, maybe you're going through a phase in your life where you're dating casually, and that's sure, okay. But if you're considering marriage, please do think that it is reality. So maybe this fluttering feeling right now is great, but find the person who shares similar values and principles. And on a personal level, I highly recommend those principles be someone who will always continue to self-reflect and grow. And if you want to keep that person with you and tie the knot, you have to be that someone you're looking for as well. But overall, I highly recommend it. It is definitely worth it.
And this is kind of like a surprise question, Niall, but today is actually Couples Day.
It
Anything you'd like to say to your husband?
I love you.
Aw. What about you, Grace?
Yeah, I know I said that conflict in marriage is unavoidable, but honestly, just not getting into fights in the first place is the best, obviously.
But that's so hard.
It is hard. So that's why I feel like you have to be self-aware, especially of your downfalls and negative behaviors. That's also really important. And some actually even say that it's better just to not do the thing that makes your spouse angry, even though you can't do anything particularly nice for them, rather than doing something nice for them and then also making them mad.
Yeah.
So it's just better not to make them mad in the first place, right? And at the end of the day, you're on the same team.
Right.
It's not about who wins the argument over the other, because if one teammate goes down, you also go down.
Right, because you are navigating through this life together, right?
Exactly.
And I want to ask you the same question I asked to Niall. Celebrating Couples Day, anything you'd like to say to the love of your life?
Yeah, me too. I love you. And happy Couples Day.
Okay, so to all the couples out there celebrating Couples Day, hope you have a lovely Couples Day wherever you are around the world. And that's all we have for News Gen today, but we will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Special thanks to Niall Song.
No problem.
Thank you. And Grace Park.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to our viewers, thank you for watching, and we'll be waiting for you same time here tomorrow. We are
News Generation.